Hi everyone, welcome once again to my YouTube channel, Dr. Quesero TV, and to my English version of my show in Spanish, Ask the Cheese Doctor. We are already 52,000 subscribers and we keep on growing. All right. If you want to learn how to make cheese, but you don't speak Spanish, because I am a Spanish speaker, and you only speak English, don't worry about it. I got you covered. Come every Saturday at this time, 11 o'clock, to my YouTube channel, and we will teach you how to make cheese, either from commercially or to just homemaking cheese. Okay, so my name is Dietrich Truxes, and I am the Cheese Doctor, and we are live streaming from in Instagram, in TikTok, and in YouTube. Right. So today we're going to speak about something very peculiar, right? Sometimes we like to make cheese, but especially fresh cheeses, which are very yum. But the milk that we don't that we have is only from the supermarket or raw milk. Okay, there is a problem by using raw milk. When we use raw milk, we have all the bacteria, the good bacteria and the bad bacteria, and I'm going to tell you something about it and why you shouldn't use raw milk and the consequences of using raw milk when you're making fresh cheeses. When I'm talking about fresh cheeses, is for example when we make ricotta, when we make feta, when we make mozzarella, and when we make all the South American cheeses. Cheeses from South America are more or less all of them, pretty much all of them, not all of them, but a big amount of them are made with raw milk. Why? Because in these countries, the food standards are not very demanding. So the manufacturers try to make the cheese. They make the cheese using unpasteurized milk. Why? Because it's cheaper. Without pasteurizing, the process is faster and cheaper, and the controls are not very demanding. So that's not a good practice. The good practice is when we make it with raw milk, with pasteurized milk. But I'm gonna tell you the pros and the cons of using raw milk, right? And focus it and using the pasteurized milk. Okay. Of course, if you have any questions and then you want to ask me, I'm keen to answer your question. And but first of all, I'm going to say hello to everyone. Well, these people here, and they're always in Instagram. I have Billy Garcia, Lily Vermont, etc., etc. And in YouTube, I have people. Wait, I have my my grandson here that wants to talk to me. Yes, Joaquin, tell me. Don't worry about it. Go to. Don't worry. Go ahead. All right. Sorry. Okay. Let's go then. Let's start with the presentation. I have this presentation in English, of course, and I'm gonna show it to you. Let me give it to you. All right. We're gonna talk about this raw milk and the wait. Done. Raw milk and fresh cheeses. I'm gonna give you my approach about this practice, because it's important that you guys sometimes when you are in the supermarket, when you are making cheese, and even when you are starting to make cheese. I have an inquiry from someone from the channel at Tommy Dietrich. I learned to make cheese in my country, and I learned with raw milk. The point is that now I live in Canada or Switzerland, I don't remember, and I only can find pasteurized milk. What do I do? The cheese that I made doesn't, even though I know how to make cheese, the cheeses that I made they don't taste the same as as they used to in Venezuela. Well, That's one reason I'm going to tell you how to mitigate this and how to make yummy cheeses using pasteurized milk, right? But I'm going to tell you later on in the presentation. Okay, let's go. But first of all, before we carry on, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to tell you a brief explanation of what raw milk is and the importance of using the importance of fresh cheeses in the industry, okay? And one key question: why is not recommended to use raw milk or untreated milk in fresh cheeses? There is a reason for why not to use it. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the milk. All right, and when the presentation wants to come up. Okay, raw milk. What is raw milk? Raw milk is a liquid produced by all the mammals. Okay, you can have raw milk. You can have milk from cows, donkeys, even humans, buffaloes, camels, etc., etc., etc. Any mammal produce milk, and the milk with this milk we can make cheeses. Doesn't matter the type of milk that you use. I've never made a cheese with donkey milk, but I know that it's very expensive. Also, you can use goats, you can use sheep, and I've never made a cheese with human either. But anyway, what else does it have? Does it have the milk? Okay, the milk have proteins. We have four basic elements, which are proteins. Okay, they also have fats, and they have also sugar, which the sugar is the lactose of the milk. Which the problem, the thing is that the lactose is a big molecule, and this lactose, this molecule tends to break down in two elements called glucose and galactose. Okay, but it's only a big molecule. All right, and also the cheese or the milk has minerals. Okay, mineral salts. These mineral salts have magnesium, potassium, but calcium. But the most important one is the calcium. The calcium is the element that we use for cheese making. Why? Because as my teacher Neil Willman used to tell me, the calcium is the glue that joins everything. And depending of the level of calcium that we have in the curd, you will make one cheese or the other, right? So this is very important. And also the milk is rich in lactic cultures. These lactic cultures can be lactic and cultures. These cultures can be lactic and non-lactic, right? But I'm going to talk to you about a little bit further about it later on. Okay, so the way that we mix these cultures, we're gonna get a special cheese, right? And the way that we mix it, we have the potential to achieve unique flavors, right? This is the good thing of the raw milk. The problem is that the raw milk also has bad bacteria, okay, pathogens, and these pathogens, the most common ones are E. coli, Salmonella, and Listeria, among others, but these are the most important ones. Salmonella can kill you. Listeria can kill you. E. coli is the less, how do you call it? The less, I don't remember the word. Anyway, is the less harmful, right? But it also will it will get you sick. All right, so we need to get rid of this elements of this bad bacteria into the milk so we can have a safe product when we make the cheese, right? Okay. Now, what happens if we use the raw milk for making fresh cheeses? Okay, we're gonna have food poisoning, because when we are making cheese with raw milk, and the farmers are getting the milk, we have flies. We have flies around in the environment, and the flies step on the droppings of the cows, and then they fly to the over of the cows, and there is a cross contamination. And the E. coli that is present in the because the E. coli is a coliform, and the E. coli that is present in the droppings will travel to the over of the milk of the cows, and will cross contaminate the milk, and also the cheeses that we make with this milk. Okay, the raw milk increase the vulnerability in fresh cheeses, because the high cheeses has a high moisture content, and also the cheeses, depending on the cheese that we make, we have low levels of acidity. When we make fresh cheeses, generally the level of acidity is low. Okay, why? Because well, this is the nature of fresh cheeses. Of course, other cheeses like mozzarella, like feta, right? This cheese has a higher level of acidity, and they are safer. But for example, if we're gonna make a panela cheese, or a fresh, just a farm cheese, a fresh one, right? It's a cheese that we make today and we consume the next day. For example, another example is paneer. If we make paneer with raw milk, paneer is a cheese that we curd with lemon, and of course, with raw milk, it's very young because it has all the bacteria, but also the bad bacteria, and it doesn't have any acidity at all. It's a cheese that we mix with cumin, with paprika, curry, whatever. Okay, so that's the thing when we are making this type of cheese. The level of acidity is very low, and because it is low, the cheese will be keen to get cross-contaminated from external bacteria. For example, Streptococcus aureus, even the Salmonella, Listeria, etc. And there have been famous outbreaks in this type of Salmonella, Listeria. One happened in 2017, a Listeria outbreak, a very famous one in the United States. In France, in 2005, there was an E. coli outbreak in children. And in Switzerland, in 2006, there was a Salmonella outbreak that killed 10 people. It's very important that we control these bacteria when we are making cheeses, especially when we are making fresh cheeses, because fresh cheeses has a very short shelf life. Okay, and as I said before, its low acidity makes them victim of cross contamination. They are very easy to cross contaminate, so we have to manage these fresh cheeses with a lot of care, a lot of sanitizing protocols, because we can make people sick. Of course, especially if we are using raw milk. If we are using pasteurized milk, the problem is different, because when the milk is pasteurized, the processes are more standard. But I'm going to talk about it a little bit later on. Okay. Also, the fresh cheeses has a higher moisture content. They have more water. They're more humid, and this high moisture content is the perfect environment for the bacteria to reproduce. If they have the right temperature and the right acidity, the bacteria will reproduce very quickly. Okay. When we are making cheese, fresh cheeses, there is no aging barriers, because when we are maturing the cheese, when we are aging the cheese, the moisture content tends to reduce. But when we're reducing the moisture content, we're also reducing the bacterial activity in cheeses that are fresh cheeses. This moisture content is very high, and therefore the activity, the bacterial growth is very high as well. So we need to be really careful. And also the cheeses, this type of cheese, the fresh ones, has in general low levels of salt. Of course, there are other cheeses that have a higher level of salt. For example, feta cheese has a high level of salt and a high level of acidity. It has a pH 4.6, the feta one. Even though the cheeses have a high level of salt and a high level of acidity, is a fresh cheese anyway, and there are bacteria that are resistant to the high levels of salt and high levels of acidity. So we need to that's the reason we pasteurize the milk. Okay, and when we are and this is very important that we use pasteurized milk when we are making these fresh cheeses. Okay, I already talked to you about it, about the problem that you might have. As you might know, these problems are cross-contamination, okay? And in general terms, if we use fresh cheeses, if we use raw milk with fresh to make fresh cheeses, the sure thing that we're gonna have is we're gonna get sick. So, but what if we have to use raw milk, because we want to use raw milk because this is my source is close to my plant, or is close to my house, and I want to use raw milk because I want to use raw milk. What should I do? Okay, the first solution that we have to do is to pasteurize the milk. Okay, this is the standard process. Pasteurization is the process when we kill the pathogens in any, not only in the milk, in any food. We can pasteurize juices. We can pasteurize milk, all right? Any kind of organic liquid that we want to pasteurize. I have heard that people is also pasteurizing the meat. They put it in a bag and put it in a sous vide and kill all the bacteria. Of course, the meat get cooked in it and it keeps all the nutrients and stuff. Okay, but to pasteurize, we have to apply temperature. Correct? So we have several barriers. No barriers. We have several combinations of temperatures and waiting time. All right. I'm putting you here too. But the most important that we need to consider is that when we are making cheese, it's easier to have the slow pasteurization, because if we have, especially when we are making it, when we are pasteurizing ourselves, because we're doing it manually, we're doing this pasteurization in an artisan way. So I suggest, and I strongly recommend, to pasteurize by the slow pasteurization process. How is it? Okay, one combination is apply temperature for 63 degrees and wait for 30 minutes at 33 degrees, and after this half an hour waiting time, reduce the temperature dramatically. How? We need to apply cold, so the temperature will reduce to the temperature of the recipe, or if you are selling milk, or you just want to have the milk pasteurized for your own consumption, you can reduce it to 5 degrees. Right? It's very important that you reduce the temperature dramatically. Otherwise, the protein will denature, and your cheese or your curd will be very weak. So it's very important that we reduce the temperature very fast. The rapid pasteurization is applied a higher temperature for a less period of time. There are several combinations. One of the combinations is the 72 degrees Celsius. Keep it for 30 seconds and then reduce it dramatically to 5 degrees or to the temperature of the recipe. It depends what your goal is. So the benefit of the pasteurization is that we can eliminate all the pathogens, to preserve all the nutrients in the milk, right? And reduce the risk of when we are selling cheese. If we are selling cheese, we are reducing the risk of cross contamination. And because of the pasteurization, when we pasteurize, we can achieve a more standard product. The bad news is that when we kill these pathogens, we're also killing the lactic cultures. And that's a problem because our cheeses will have no flavor at all. So, and the protein will degrade with the natures as well, because there's going to be a protein degradation. And we have to recover this degradation. We have to recover this level of protein. The protein will reduce its level. So, and I'm going to tell you a way, a secret, how to recover the protein and how to pasteurize so you can have time. Let me write it down because in my last presentation I forgot these two items and I didn't say it in the presentation. So combination of pasteurization. I'm going to tell you the best combination, the one that I use, and the other one is the protein degradation. Okay. All right. I'm going to tell you after when I at the end of the video. Okay. So let's go to the next slide so you can see. The second solution is when you pasteurize the milk. I told you that the protein, sorry, that the bacteria will die, correct? The good ones and the bad bacteria. So we have to inoculate the milk with cultures, with new bacteria. We have to inoculate the milk with the bacteria so we can have this flavor. What do we use? We use lactic cultures. Okay, we use lactic bacteria and non-lactic bacteria. These bacteria will feed. What is this starter cultures? These starter cultures are bacteria that comes from milk. Okay, but they are made in a safe way. This bacteria feeds from the lactose of the milk and produce lactic acid. This lactic acid will lower the pH of the milk, and eventually we will get the level of calcium, because the the acidity tends to denature the soluble calcium into the milk. And this put it in simple terms, the acidity lower the level of calcium in the curd. Okay, and depending of the level of calcium that we have into the curd, we can stretch the curd or not. Okay, and it will depend the type of cheese that we're going to make. If we want, for example, to make mozzarella, we have to have a little bit of calcium dissolved by acidification. So we have to play with this amount. If we're going to make, for example, halloumi, the halloumi is a cheese that doesn't have acidity at all, right? Because it has a high level of calcium. And this cheese, the halloumi, when we put it in the grill, it forms like a brown scrap or something. So no, because its level of calcium is very high. And this is what we need to do. If we want to make, for example, another cheese, feta, we reduce we reduce to the minimal the level of calcium. So and feta has a very high level of acidity. So we play with this. By playing with it, we get one cheese or the other. All right. The good news with the by using starter cultures is that we can achieve a rapid acidification. Okay, the flavor will be it will be improved. We can improve by adding this starter culture. We can improve flavor, and we can improve textures as well. We can control and monitor more accurately the fermentation process when we are making the cheese, and we have in the market a lot of species of lactic culture. We have the lactobacillus, which are lactobacillus. We have streptococcus, leuconoscot, lactococcus. And in lactobacillus, we have several species. These are only the families, okay? The family of lactococcus, the family of streptococcus. But we have, in the lactobacillus family, we have many species of lactobacillus. The same with streptococcus, leuconoscot, etc., etc. The good news, this is the good news. The bad news is that, remember that I told you that in the milk we have all the lactobacteria, and the options are a lot. Well, when we are pasteurizing, we kill all these species of lactic cultures, and by how do you call it? By re-inoculating the milk with the bacteria with the starter cultures that are in the market, this inoculation is really limited, because the flora is limited, and there are not many in the market, because the lactic cultures manufacturers, they produce maybe 10 or 20, no more than that. And in the milk we have even more. So as a consequence, the flavors of these cheeses made with pasteurized milk are less complex, and the chains are limited, because when we are using this, when we are re-inoculating the milk with this bacteria, the chains are maybe one or two bacteria at the same time. We put it at the same time. For example, when we buy the Lactococcus lactis, and we inoculate it in the milk, when we if we read the ingredients, they have Lactococcus lactis and maybe Lactococcus cremoris, which are two bacteria that work together more or less. That's a limitation, because the cheeses will have a limited flavor, all right? And this is where the art starts. The cheesemaker, or the cheesemaker with experience, the wise cheesemaker, we tend to combine one culture with the other and produce our own formula. In this way, we can reproduce, I would say, in 70% the flavors as we were making the cheese with raw milk, right? And this is how the art begins. Of course, there is and by adding this type of cultures, I have a friend that he's a Mexican friend, and he said that he's a judge in the World Cheese Award, and he said once that by using this starter culture, the cheeses more or less they taste the same, because they the lactic culture that they use are limited, not as we were using it with raw milk, because they have all the flora and all the bacteria and native yeast that are in the raw milk. Okay, and the last solution is that if we are making if we want to make cheese with raw milk, we have to apply the 60 days rule. Okay, the 60 days rule is that it was created in 1949 by the FDA in the United States, the Food Drugs Administration, and it states that each fresh cheese that is going to consume or be sold to third parties commercially will have to be aged for at least 60 days. Why 60 days and not 30 days and not 90 days? Well, because when we are aging the cheese, right, it's been proved by lab tests and analytical reports and stuff that when we are making cheese, okay, and when we are aging the cheese, the level of humidity, the moisture content, all right, tends to reduce. By reducing the moisture content, we're also reducing the microbial competition during ripening. Okay, and the bacterial activity will also be reduced. Why? Because we don't have enough humidity, and the bacteria and which, in addition with the level of acidity, the environment will be more concentrated, more acid, and eventually, it has been proved by analytical report that after 60 days, it shouldn't be any bacterial activity, or all the bacterial activity that was before will be mitigated, it will be isolated, it will be eliminated. All right. So this, and sometimes, of course, we have countries that are not using they don't apply the 60 days rule, which is one of them is France, the other one is Switzerland. But the thing is with these countries is that they don't produce fresh cheeses. They produce always aged cheeses. However, in France we have the Chèvre, which is a fresh cheese. It's the only cheese that I know at this stage. I'm gonna see if I can investigate a little bit more. But these cheeses are this is a fresh cheese made with goat milk, Chèvre. Okay, but the advantage of the Chèvre is that its level of acidity is very high. So, which counteract the effect of the bacteria, right? So, by having a high level of acidity, it can mitigate the growth of the bacteria. All right. Okay. Let's carry on. Okay. Now, if we are gonna make cheese, we need to comply with the legal requirement. These are good operating practice that I want to give you. So, in case that you want to give, if you want to make the cheeses at home using raw milk, okay. So, if you're using raw milk, it's a must to pasteurize your milk. All right. Okay. Why? You need to comply with the legal requirement if you want to sell dairy products. Not only for cheese, it applies also if you want to make ricotta, if you want to make yogurt, if you want to make buttermilk cream, or if you want only to sell the milk. It's not you need to have all this. You need to be compliant with all these items. Okay, and also your employees, they need to be certified. They need to be continuously trained. You need to teach them how to apply the food safety protocols into your premises. And we have to train them how, for example, if they are making cheese, and if they have their phone on the plant, or if they have it in the pocket, and for a reason they receive a call, they're gonna have to take the cell phone, answer the phone call, and then they need to follow a protocol, because by picking up let me yeah by picking up the phone, they already have cross contamination, so they need to apply a protocol to mitigate this effect. All right. So also the labeling, they need to follow a protocol for labeling we need to comply with standards. Each label needs to comply with the standard. One example is, for example, we need to put allergens into the label, because if we are making the cheese, it has milk, and the milk might cause allergies to some people, so we need to disclose it, right? And also the packaging needs to comply with certain standards. If we are going to vacuum pack, or if we are going to put the cheese into a liquid, we need to comply with all the standards according to the food safety, right? And also the process. Our process needs to have a protocol and how the cheese is developed along the way. So we have to control that. Also, in our system, we have to manage how we're going to control the pests, and how, if we're going to make any swab tests, we need to report all that. And if we are going to use, for example, thermometers, pH meters, or etc., or even the scales need to be calibrated, and we need to have a record of it. And the most important, one of the most important elements in our food safety plan, or in our food safety protocol, is the critical control point. Right? We need to know in our process which are the critical control points. And for example, when we are making cheese using raw milk, one critical control point is that we need to mitigate the pathogens that are in the raw milk. This is a critical control point, so we need to mitigate it. We need to isolate it. How? Pasteurizing. This is one, right? Another one, if we are making the cheese, for example, and because the milk has a pH of 6.7, okay, and even though if it is pasteurized, if our environment is not clean, by making the cheese, our cheese or our milk would be cross-contaminated if our premises are not sanitized. So we have to control this point. So this is another critical control point. How do we control it? Well, maybe by lowering the pH. By having a pH of X amount, depending on the cheese that we make, we are proving that our cheeses are safe. So this is another critical control point, and so on. Each cheese has different critical control point. Okay, and depending on the cheese that you have, you need to manage this critical control point, this is very important when we are making the cheeses, right? Okay. Alrighty. And as a conclusion and something to think about, okay? Remember, it's very important that you know the benefit of treating the milk, and when you are heating the milk and heat treating the milk, it's very important that you re-inoculate your milk with starter cultures. Okay, this is one thing to remember. Also, you have to evaluate or assess. You need to assess all the risks that are associated by using raw milk in your fresh cheeses. Okay, you need to be aware that if you're gonna make fresh cheeses, you need to apply the 60 days rule. Otherwise, you will be out of standard, and your cheeses won't be, or can be sold commercially, can be consumed personally, for your own consumption, but you cannot make the cheese. You cannot sell cheese if you don't apply the 60 days rule, right? And one thing to consider as well is that try to prioritize your food safety without compromising quality in your cheeses. If you follow all your protocols, right? If you have a system in place and you follow all your protocols, you will make a good cheese. You will make a safe product, and you will make a safe product, and your clients will value that. So I encourage you. I strongly recommend that you follow this system. Okay. What else? And lastly, if you want to learn a little bit more, I invite you to my basic cheese course for beginners. This is an online course where you can make your cheeses, and you're gonna learn what's happening to the cheese. I'm gonna teach you all the pros, all the cons. I'm gonna teach you all the elements that you need to learn to understand how the cheese behave along the way, from since when it's milk until when you have an aged product. Okay, and this is very important because in this way you will have a safe product for you and for your family and for your clients. Okay, it's all online. Let me show you what includes. But I don't have it here. Wait, here it is. In this course, you're going to learn. Let me show you here the basics of artisan cheese making. You're going to learn also the technique of making a wide variety of cheeses. I'm going to teach you the secrets, okay, to get these flavors, what bacteria to use, or what are the most common bacteria to use, what problems should you have, and I'm going to give you 5 recipes that you can make these cheeses. What recipes are? I'm going to teach you how to make mozzarella, which is a must. Fresh cheeses, feta, I reckon, ricotta, butter as well. I reckon I'm going to teach you how to make butter, artisan butter, not the rubbish that we buy at the supermarket, not the mozzarella you buy at the supermarket, because the cheese that we buy at the supermarket, they're pretty much, I would say 50% of them or 60% of them are analog cheeses, which are cheeses that are not made from real cheese. It's a mixture between cheese and oils. So you will learn how to make a good stuff. You're gonna make a real mozzarella, not the rubbish that you buy in the supermarket. Okay. This is the code. If you want to, you just make a screenshot, put it in with your camera, and it will take you to the website, and you can register over there for free. Okay, and well, that's it. I reckon you have like your this presentation. Remember, I'm gonna be here every week teaching how to make cheese and explaining people all the these bits and pieces about the cheese making. All right. So we're not gonna have any question here because I reckon we don't. There's low people here, quite a few, but no problem. In Instagram, I have a lot of people here, but they come and go. All right, but no problem. This video is gonna be in my website, and I'll see you next week at 11 o'clock, as always, New Zealand time. All right. So take it easy and see you. Bye bye.